is a phrase I never thought I would ever hear in my life, but it just so happens to be one of the big trending things of this year, I guess. If you don't know what Parkour Civilization is, it's a storyline of this guy living in a world that runs on parkour. There's a lot of weird plot, there's a lot of weird characters, and there's some weird battle mechanics that I don't really understand. The thing that interested me most, however, was the economics of Parkour Civilization. But in order to go any further, I've got to change rooms. Welcome to my classroom. As you can see, I have a whiteboard here. This is where I'll be drawing all of my illustrations. As you can see, it's very educational. And what I'd like to get started with explaining is the very first option that our main character has to buy with his parkour skills. That, of course, being the raw chicken or raw beef that he can eat at the noob level. If this is not making any sense so far, good luck. As the main character is told, whenever they're given the choice between the chicken or beef, they can do a 1-block jump for the chicken, or they could do a 1-block vertical jump, which is from here to here, for 1 beef. And what I figured out with this chicken and beef is that the chicken is supposed to be cheaper because the jump is easier. You just have to go from 1 block to the other. And the beef is supposed to be harder because you have to go from 1 block to 1 block that is a little bit higher. Whenever you actually take in the economics of this in our current society, we actually find that a store-bought chicken is actually going to run you $7.68. You get a whole chicken, but for the beef, you only get part of the cow. So a regular beef sirloin, which is about the same size as what's in Minecraft, you actually have that for $6.49. This means that the less expensive beef is actually harder to obtain than the more expensive chicken. It just is an introduction to how broken this economic system is. My second item that I want to catch you guys up with is whenever you're buying a house, you go to a realtor, you look for a for sale by owner, and you hand them the amount of money that they want. In Parkour Civilization, all you have to do is go over to some guy and show him some parkour skills, and you get a house. To show you how crazy this is, do you remember how our 1-block chicken jump was equal to $7.68? Well, in order to buy a house in Parkour Civilization, you need to do a ladder jump, which sounds complicated, but it's not. It's not at all. 2 blocks. They're 2 blocks away from each other. You have 2 gaps here. But instead of having to go from here to there, all you have to do is land on this ladder. You just have to go from there to there. It's practically falling. You just fall, land on a ladder, and you get yourself a house. Apparently, it's one of the good houses, too. That was the big house. I did some research. This quote-unquote big house was 2 stories tall. The minimum is $65,000. And the maximum, as according to this research, is $600,000. And all you gotta do is fall from 1 block onto a ladder. It's a good thing there aren't very many people in Parkour Civilization, because these things sell like hotcakes. You don't even have to do that much. I digress. As you can see, we have kind of a variable here. We're not really sure how much is being put down here. But I think we can all agree that $65,000 is way higher than $7.68. I think we can all agree on that. That is not to mention that the house that he started in, which is a 1-bedroom house, is roughly about $245,000 $1,000. That's what he started with. That is the bare minimum. That's the same level that you need to do the jump for the chicken and the steak. Boy, you already got housing and you're complaining about the food. But it makes sense because it only gets worse from here. Also, I want to mention how the parkour pros make the parkour noobs do parkour whenever they do things wrong. The main character tries to break a block at one point, and the parkour pro says, "Give me 4 jumps in a row." You know what that is? That is search and seizure of private property. So these guys can just make you do parkour whenever they want. Something's really messed up about that. Where it gets exponentially more crazy is whenever you get into that is 360 degrees. Our main character is jumping from this block to this block, but in the process of jumping from this block to this block, he is spinning his head around and then landing. That is the 360. It is what the main character has in this whole movie that lets him be able to just do whatever he wants. Do you guys want to know how crazy this 360 is? The first instance we see with a 360 is the very first time he does it. Now there's a ticket event which tells the main character that they can level up to a parkour pro from being a parkour noob. Our main character over here, he still has him some leather boots. And our parkour pro, who is watching this event, has him some iron boots. So what I want you guys to understand is that the class difference from noob to pro is like day and night. If you are a parkour pro like this guy right here, you can do whatever the heck you want to these parkour noobs. Like I was saying, they pay taxes. This is the guy who charges you your parkour taxes. Long story short, Parkour Pro is bribed into letting Mr. Noob over here cheat on this exam by placing an extra block. You probably aren't following because I'm having trouble explaining it. This means the power of the 360 is bribe worthy. He was able to get the pro to do something that he probably wasn't supposed to do. Now, what we cannot calculate, the amount of money that this one block 360 actually is, we are able to infer that it is a huge sum. It is so great that it breaks the systemic racism that this parkour civilization has. It's crazy. But it's only on the parkour masters level that we truly understand the power of this 360 jump. So, as you may remember, our main character bought a house by doing a ladder jump in the past, but now our lovely little Evbo has earned himself some gold boots, making him a parkour master. Our character is given the opportunity to earn himself a skyscraper. Now, I am not sure exactly how big this skyscraper is, but it is estimated that the value of a skyscraper is generally between 300 million and 1 billion. Now, this is not a number that applies to every single building. This is just a general number I found. Do you want to know how our main character earns a building all for himself that is at least worth $300 million? He does a 360. Our character jumps from there to there to there, doing 2 360s. You might think that that's pretty impressive. That's pretty good. Only he could do that. But there's a dialogue clue from the character who sold him the skyscraper that completely throws all this out of the water. This guy, after seeing all of this, he happens to say he has never seen a 360 before, and that he would have given him the skyscraper for only one of those 360s. This means that if the player had done the 2 360s in a row, which was already more impressive than one 360, our main character probably spent around 3 billion on this skyscraper. No wonder the parkour pro from before was easily swayed by this. Because if one 360 is worth $300 million, it makes sense as to why people just kind of do whatever he says. But now, all of the money aside, what really strikes me in this civilization and the economic status of this civilization is in a one-on-one match, the main character is challenged to do a 3-block Neo versus the current champion. You jump and spin around, land on the other side of the wall. And yes, that is difficult. Not everyone's able to pull it off, and if you fall into the void, you die. It's hit or miss. But after Evbo, our main character, our knight in shining armor, after he completes this jump, Evbo is able to change every rule in Parkour Civilization. And that would mean that this jump right here is more valuable than any money, which I would remind you is over the 3 billions right now. But in order to become the absolute dictator of this society, of this civilization, might you say, is a 3-block jump. But all of that to the side, we all know that the worst part of this parkour civilization is that how in the world is chicken more expensive than beef? Subscribe or else I challenge you to a parkour race and you flip and die in the void. Choice is yours. You're supposed to choose to subscribe, by the way. I don't know if that wasn't obvious enough. It should be right here. Like the button to subscribe should be right here. And then there's like a video you can watch, probably further than that. I'm not really sure. But the button should be maybe right here.